Cool. Looks like we are up and running as per, I'm going to say usual, but it's not like we've done a lot of these before. So let's see what we got. Generally speaking, I have returned to our world of endless space while I talk. But this is another one of these writing streams that were requested, just like talk about writing and the like. The request that I got off stream was to talk about romance a little bit, specifically how to write a good first meeting in a romance novel, and some fun time examples. I guess I'd have to find examples and figure out what I can and can't stream as an example. There's no romance in this. I should have picked a romance or a game with a romance in it and played that out just so I can make commentary on it in real time. But anyways, do what we can here with what we've got. And I have to remember where I was in this game too. Oh boy. Oh yes, we waited until we had an election, and then we had an election. That was all we cared about. Having an election.
Offended the most perfect. As Horatio.
Don't be at war with us, Horatio.
Vexed.
Oh, okay. So yeah, thank you, person. Hope we're having an all right day. I am having an all right day. Before we get into holiday time of the year. Now, the person who asked about, I hope the person might be watching or is around to like clarify on what they struggle with in terms of romance writings and openings in terms of how the characters meet. So generally speaking, though, I guess if we're going to go on what I said before, where I said the beginning of a story is where normal ends. Typically that means the same thing applies to romance, and normal would be for most romantic situations the point at which they meet that other person, because previously their normal was like they were single, or they're in a relationship if they end a relationship. Why am I not surprised you're here, Kat? All right, we can have a staring contest later. So I'm trying to just, if anyone wants to throw in any sort of, hey, this is where I've struggled with romance starts or anything like that, just because I'm trying to think of like what would be what people get hung up on in their romance opening. So generally speaking, the way that you open your story, if you're going to involve it in a romance, is going to be that moment that things change for them. So it's some sort of moment in which they meet someone who is going to change their life or their view on life. And if it's romance, it's basically going to be their view on romance, which is why so many romance stories pretty consistently open with the meet cute or some version of the meet cute, or the 6 seconds before the meet cute is a really common one. We don't have a food related option here. I don't know what to pick. A food related. I mean, parades are fun, but it's a military parade, so I'm not on board with it. We basically already have this much money, so let's just have this much money.
Horatio doubts your motives and your ethics.
Yeah, see, they noticed that we put fleets on our border because you're expanding.
This is another dishonorable proposal.
I don't know what they're about. They just yell at me every time. Anyways, so yeah, this is why you find a lot of romance stories typically open with the person who's going to be the romantic partner. Now, that said, it doesn't have to open with the romantic meeting. Like, it doesn't have to necessarily be main character so-and-so and then their love interest, and that's the opening scene. It may not be established that they're the love interest right off the bat. It may not be established that that they're going to fall in love. They may find someone else. This is just the moment that kind of shifts their romantic journey. So if previously they had been a single person or a person trying to find love or something's going on, they're going to have some sort of shift at this point. So to give an example, one that I enjoy, I'll use manga examples for this. Romance mangas are really hard to find, but usually a lot of romance mangas have very clear setups right off the bat. And the other fun part of this is that I really like these. Really like this art. kind of want these. Look at these people. They're great. Wow. Cool. We discovered the planet Auriga. We needed to find unique planets. This matters. This is super important that we have unique planets. There's no way that we can get... We had a quest about this somewhere. Hang on. Seek the unique. How many turns we have left? 19 turns to put a colony on that planet. In the middle of these... Who's the green people?
Speak. Let us see.
Will you
if
be
we can
peaceful
trust
for
your
us?
words.
Please? No? They don't like it? Okay. That's not great. That's not great. Well, we tried. Anyway, so yeah, a lot of romance manga uses really, really obviously. There are also a number of non-romance manga that use it. Just a ton of what I would call like standard issue romance novels generally open with a character meeting with another character at some point. Either the beginning, or sorry, either the middle or the end of the chapter will generally have them meeting with whoever they're supposed to meet, who's going to become their... Oh, right, we can colonize everything now. It's got acid rain on it. I'm not going to colonize it. I don't want acid rain on my poor people. It'd be terrible. Is there more stuff for me to explore? Yes. I'm going to go investigate these people's lives. Yes, no, wait. You make this real easy, Cat, by falling asleep on me. Thank you. So... Anyways, a lot of standard romance will do it. In terms of the standard romance components, what you'll find is that... I'm going to adjust my mic since I'm now like a mile away from my computer. In terms of standard romance, this is why you'll see, as soon as those two characters meet too, generally, this is what I'm talking about with like patterns and people being used to these kind of patterns, people will immediately start putting two and two together. Like the second that... oh good, we have a mod in here too. The second that two characters show up and even have a discussion, people are just going to think like these two need to be together, basically. These two have to get together. They're just going to start default thinking about that unless something else is specified. And even then, people will start to wonder like, I still think they're probably going to get together. There's like a funny Hollywood joke where just like, because you can physically see them, if two attractive people are in the same movie scene together, they're going to get together. That's just like a universal truth. It's really weak romance writing, but it is generally true that as soon as you open that way, I'm not taking reduced happiness, and we're ecology people. This was demanded of me by the chat. Chat demanded a food-based economy. So anyways, oh, what is going on? Oh, we completed a quest. Send an expedition to the curiosity of Ingress. We can do that. There's a lot of curiosities on Ingress. Let's find out which one does what. Ta-da! Ta-da! Wait, how did we find the pulsos in the middle of this? I don't know what to do with that. Gossamer. Dust. Another quest. Pirates showed up. We're gonna be killed by pirates. We're out of here. Anyways. Okay, we ran away. Okay, we gotta kill the pirates, so I'm gonna send the people here to kill the pirates. Also, why is there a behemoth just sitting here? Like, look at the size of it. This ship is so big. It shows up on the... What is this behemoth just doing here? Anyways, sorry. So yeah, you'll find in a lot of openings, you go right into the opening and you just start with two people meeting, or at least encountering someone who's likely going to be, or the only other option is some sort of like, the Christmas Prince does this, where effectively they say, hey, I need you to go on assignment to this location to go scope out hot billionaire so-and-so. And you can put two and two together. Okay, they're being thrust into the situation where they're going to meet with hot billionaire so-and-so. So examples of this kind of meeting, usually the standard example is just, boom, right off the bat, they meet, and they bump into each other in some sort of manner that would either indicate, and this now depends on how you want to play out this romance, they're going to have to meet in some sort of capacity that indicates they... Okay, fine, goodbye, cat. Some sort of capacity that showcases... Whoop. that they either immediately have some sort of attraction for each other. So there's a lot of stories that start that way, where there's sort of that electric tension. Oh my goodness, they're hot, I'm hot. At least one party is hot, and they connect, sparks fly. That's often the plots that involve, like, they sleep together on the first date, and then they realize they now have to work together, or they were both heading to the same thingamajig. There's so many different... What the hell is a gamma analysis platform? I don't know. What? Wait, if I achieve this, I get this guy? Hang on. Romance can wait. Look at this. Look at this hero. He knows what's up. And he's an ecologist. This is everything we've ever dreamed of. What is a gamma analysis platform? These are planetary improvements that trigger... Okay, but how do I will immediately start building gamma... Oh, okay, they're just things I can build. Okay. I will build them everywhere. Stop the presses. Oh, I'll pay to insta build that one. No problem. We're not building anything interesting here. That only takes 7 turns. So good. Oh, that's good to know that. Okay, they'll build some things. Who else can build stuff real fast for me? And you can build it with money, straight cash. That's how I solve for that one. And here, I do not have enough straight cash. Straight cash. How do I make straight cash here? I don't have the galactic exchange. Okay, fine. Well, whatever. Okay, so sorry, got lost. So yeah, there's romance as like that kind of crackle at the start. That's how you introduce the characters. That's the romantic meeting. If you do that, obviously you can't have any tension and build up. That's why those situations do a case where they'll say, like, here are 2 characters, they have met, they've immediately made some sort of romantic connection, a kiss that evening and drunken night, or sleeping together is the really common one. And then fun debate in the chat. And then beyond that, you can then move to, like, since they did something that immediately removed the tension, you then have to reintroduce tension. That's why very frequently, right after they've done that kind of thing, there's okay, how do we get back together? Or how do we keep them apart all over again? Like, you have to reintroduce something that keeps them apart, unless your book is how 2 people have a relationship together, which would be kind of interesting and unique. But if it's a romance, it's generally about how they fall in love. So if you introduce them, you have to then split them up again, basically, if you introduce them on that grounds. If you introduce them and you just indicate, like, they could develop interest, you just have to give the reason as to why the character will be intrigued. So you have to avoid that common Hollywood problem where you're just like, because they're both attractive and they looked at each other. That should be enough, right? Like, you get it. They're attractive. They looked at each other. That obviously doesn't work, especially in books. You can't just... I mean, you can kind of do that. You can kind of put 2... I guess you can put 2 characters together and describe them both as hot, and people immediately know it, but it's because that, like, Hollywoodness has worked on our brains that way that it triggers that. Otherwise, I would say you would have to indicate some other interest on a, like, personal level. Either one of the characters does think about and definitely finds them quite attractive, totally possible, or they start saying stuff or talking about things that really indicate to them that they should be attracted to this character. They should be thinking about this kind of stuff and being like, wow, they're really attractive, or I love the way they think, or they had some flirting. Those are a lot of ways that you can indicate things are going well between 2 characters early and often. Those are all fairly obvious. I feel like a lot of people have seen those. Like, I don't know if I really have to cover exactly why that matters. I mean, like, anyone, seeing as how people are fighting. And yes, what I just described is extremely cliche. So cliche. Yeah, we did it. We got Tiatziliak. I don't know. Look at him. He's level 12. What a hero. I don't even... Oh my goodness. He's even better in his animation. Wow. Or they, I guess. We have no idea who they are. They're just in existence. Yeah, they don't have any... With its face in science, and Tiach was one of the Renegade Endless. After completing that monument, it drifted for ages. So this is just like a virtual reality, but this is just an AI or something. Interesting. Yeah, my apologies for the misgendering. It's so just an AI, just a genderless AI. Should a starfang civilization come to its rescue, I'd be more than happy to assist them as thanks. Ha ha ha. All right. Well then, we have. How many skill points do we have to use here? 8, 11. There we go. 11 skill points. Okay. Cool. We're sciencey people. It does look like a hollow Pokemon card. I agree. And I did see the debate above. I'll get into the fantasy thing or sci-fi thing. People really want to know about sci-fi and fantasy stuff. I guess that's my fault for playing a sci-fi game. That's on me. Okay, this all appears to be ship related. They're very good at ships, but they're a senator. Why would they? Maybe that's just their... Oh, that's just their endless skill. Okay, as a seeker, as a hero. Okay, as a seeker, I can get up to... Cool. What do I... I'm so torn on what I spec into. Okay, we want him to be better at defending. No one will invade this person's thing's space. And they make everyone happier. I don't see what the problem is there. They're cheaper to keep around. That's good to know about. Okay, I would like cheaper. Everything they have is ship related from here on out. Ugh, this sucks. Okay, well, there we go. Now we need to assign them somewhere. I don't know where to assign them now. Like what? I have someone here on Edisir. Yeah, Dimitri's on Edisir. And I have someone on Pollux because it's another like hub for me. Like maybe over here in Cran, but there's like not really anything. Yeah, we need in Cran because sorry, that's a default I'm gonna have to get over. It's very good against invasions, so let's do that. Let's terraform this lousy desert into something much nicer. A savanna. Much nicer. There we go. What does this do? Oh, it just generally gives me more science. Cool. Can build it anywhere. That's awesome. Yeah, sorry. As I was saying, so all those examples I gave of kind of the ways that you can open that are really obvious between two people, they're all relatively, at this point, cliches, and there's like absolutely nothing wrong with them. You can ask anyone who's a fierce romance reader. They love them. They live for them. They live for all those beats. They love every second of them. As a like romance reader myself within at least the manga world, I don't read the novel versions. I know all of those cliches. I know every time they're going to happen. I'm totally fine with them. I have no issue with them showing up. So if your concern is, I can't just have two characters meet and be kind of flirty in a cafe and then be like, I'll never see them again, no worry, and then the next day find out they're now in school together or whatever, they're now their boss or anything like that. It's like, isn't that a cliche? It's like, yeah, kind of, but who cares? I don't. And there will be some people who will critique you on, hey, that's a cliche, I don't really like it. I think like I would just put them as fine. They're kind of the romance equivalent of those people who are coming into sci-fi and fantasy stories asking you about the physics. If someone's just stopping before the romance begins saying like, this is cliche, they are probably not much of a romance reader, or as I said before, your plot isn't interesting. So you do have to make sure as key components to a story, like hook really matters. If your hook is example hook that I just had to suffer through, but was really good. So romance hook that was really interesting that I can use is from like We Never Learn, which is, hey, there's this student, he's a B+ student at best, and there are two geniuses. One of them's extremely good at math and science. One of them's extremely good at literature and arts. Both of them are really bad at the opposite things, and he's really jealous of both of them because like no matter what, he can't be the number one in any of his classes because they're always the number one, but he's just good at all the things, but like average. And he's told by the principal like, hey, you have to work with both these people because for some dumb reason both of them want to apply to universities in their opposite fields, right? Like the science one wants to go to a literature university, and it would look really bad on our school if our famous geniuses went to the wrong space. So like that's an interesting hook. and is really great. What has to then hook you beyond that though is like what makes it different. So if you just hook with the classic, these tropes are so great. Like we label, when I have to label content for my job, like we label them with these tropes. We know exactly where they fall in. Doesn't matter. They're broad overarching tropes that we can just be like, it's this kind of trope. It's this kind of trope. Yeah, and correct. Mod Jakes is very right. People do actually seek out particular cliches, and they know exactly which ones they are. So, they're very like, hey, I really love enemies to lovers tropes. Love them, live for them. Really love forced proximity tropes. Really love fake dating tropes. There's only so many possible setups. A more recent interesting one, or interesting hook that then is a terrible manga. But another interesting hook, of course, is that the kid of a Yakuza family has to pretend to fake date the child of a competing gang that's shown up. And this competing gang is... they have a daughter, and they're just like, hey, we need to pretend to date so that the gangs don't fight, right? That is just a traditional like fake dating cliche. The how they ended up in that situation is a little bit different than normal stories, but you know, if you look at it from a broad scope, you would immediately just say like, that's a cliche. That's a cliche. It's just a forced dating cliche, and a bunch of cliches are going to come with it. There's going to be misunderstandings. They're going to fall in love anyways. Like, you know, all this stuff. That's totally fine. Those are totally fine ways to open up a story. The other way that you can open a romance that I was kind of alluding to is you can open a romance with the new character who they will develop their relationship with, but who it is not clear at that time that they are developing that relationship with them. And so that was the example that I was going to use, which is Kimi no Iru Machi, or Town Where You Once Lived, which opens with a character who already has a crush on someone, who then has to deal with someone moving into his house.
I assume this is another dishonorable...
Yeah, right, rent a girlfriend. There's lots of them, but they're all like kind of the same. Everybody knows forced proximity, where it's just like, oh no,
Do you enjoy
yeah, I'll give you
proposals?
dust. Forced proximity is like, oh no, there's only one bed in the hotel room. Or like, we both are stuck in this cabin for the weekend. We have to stay together. That's all kind of normal stuff. But yeah, the other way that you can open a romance is you can open it through putting out like this character already has someone they're interested in, or is saying they're not interested in romance, and they've just met someone else who also doesn't indicate that they are interested in a romance with them. But you as the reader can already kind of sniff out like something has changed though. This person is going to cause some sort of change in their life. So that is, again, that whole like the normal has to end thing for how stories start. If you start a romance story with just like, here's two people going about their normal lives, that's not interesting. It has to be skip to wherever the part is where their life stops being normal. Now I got to go back through the chat. Someone, what was it? The romance stories taking over fantasy and science fiction. Romance is kind of fascinating that way. Romance can be in any given genre. Yeah, I have heard a theory unrelated to what Jake posted. I have heard a theory of like all things are romance, as in every character is in love either with someone or something. It might be like a love of a passion that drives them, but love is what fuels it. Is kind of, we need to terraform the sterile Cran 1 planet. Okay, we will do that for them. We're doing anything that's ecology related. We're ecological people. Yeah, so that was an argument that someone made, that like romance, if it's about love, it can be a story that's about someone's love for like a sport, can be the motivating factor, and they'll do anything for that love. It's kind of an interesting take on viewing like how love fuels all stories. So you can think about it that way, but I have no issue with stories showing up. Now, if a story removes its pretense, so the example that was given is like, it's a regular old fantasy story until the hot prince shows up, and then it's just because about the hot prince. I think that to me sounds more like a bait and switch than it is inappropriate. Like the story should have started with the hot prince, or made clear that it was some sort of romantic plot or made that a better subplot. That might be, so that can be a case where either the subplot has taken over the main plot, and that's a no-no on the author's part for not making sure that the subplot didn't overtake the main plot, depending on what they were doing. I mean, it may have been a case where people just like really enjoyed it as it was written and they really love that it switched into it, but there's going to be a lot of people who will be kind of feel weird that it just switches into full-blown romance. That's a general rule that I have, though, as we're talking a lot about starts here. The start of any story, basically, the start of any story has to deliver the promise of what's coming. So a romance one has to deliver, like, here is a setup for romantic possibilities. It can't open, and I'm talking like within the first chapter or two, you have to promise to people, like, here's what I'm going to give you. I'm going to give you a romance, so here is the setup. So in this example that we've given, like, that hot prince has to show up right away. Or one of the characters has to be like, you know, you have to get wedded soon in order to fulfill your whatever for the blah, blah, blah. Something has to indicate, like, the promise is this character is going to experience romance throughout the course of this story. And then you have to know the ending, right? Yeah, I mean, it happens in published, it happens all over the place. Like, I think an important note is, like, just because something is published does not make it a flawless story. That's why there's critiques of stuff all the time. There's lots of stories that don't do the best job. And I'm also speaking in abstractions here. Like, I haven't read it, so I wouldn't be able to say, like, no, it wasn't too bad. So, oh, hang on. Choice for people here. Your scientist, so there's a ship. There's a bunch of passengers in stasis, but they have a plague. We can either save the core of the ship or the inhabitants. Do we save the people or the ship? People, ship, people, ship. They could be dead people because they're all with a plague, but I don't know. People, ship. Chat says, I feel like they're going to say people because it's food related. Yeah, there we go. People. Fine, I'm going with people. I do it for you, Daisy. Just for Daisy. No one else. This is our sciencey person being all sciencey. I don't know. There you go. More production. Stuff being built. Yeah, so I think, like, if a story changes into something else, that's more on the story. Like, if it doesn't deliver on its promises, that's not generally a great story. Now, the person who's judging it, as they said, is aromantic, so I don't know. It may just have been for you that you're like, I don't like any romance showing up in my content. Get it out of here. I have no idea. Oh, whoops, wrong squad. No, wait, you have to go up here to the pirates. Yeah. So, romantic comedy is really fun. That's fair. Yeah, romantic comedy is extremely fun. I love it. That's what I look for a lot in my manga. And I find it really difficult to find in manga because so much. Okay, are we religious people or are we industrious people? You've read the reports. It looks like the lecture. Blah 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 blah. Oh, should we be making a show to the gods? Should we be like, thank you gods for this bountiful harvest, or should we just be like, thanks for all the resources, peeps? Would we be industrious? We've been like non-industrious because all the other industry things have been against ecology. They've been like killing the environment for obvious reasons. This will make everything cheaper. This will make everything more we're not anything right now. So our political affiliation. Hang on, let's showcase. Oh my god, now there's another one. Okay, well, we're more level up 2 systems. Okay, I will try and do that for you, machine. Oh, right. Still have to do this. Okay. What are we currently politically? We like slightly have a religious bend growing in our community, but we're still kind of duking it out between these two. We do have a representative for the religious party too. Let's do a survey. Let's do a survey. What does the survey say? Oh my goodness. Interesting. So we are just as religious as we are industrial as a people. They're straight identical. So I have 2 votes for fanaticism. We're religious ecologists. All right, why not? So there, we thank the gods for this bountiful harvest. Well, we are all over. I'm really curious as to what this next election is going to be, because we are all over the place as a group. But yeah, so now we're a bunch of fanatics who have grown to love. We saw the error of our ways in the past when we accidentally destroyed a lot of stuff. Whoops. And so now we're trying to be a little better about that. Stage 3 of economy and trade. I don't have that. I don't have stage 3 of economy and trade. Oh, I'm about to have it. Okay. Well then, in that case, let's get some trading going. So much trading. I have to get that one. I don't care about this one. All right, cool. We're religious ecologists. Well done. Well done, team. Yeah, romance and comedy are pretty much always going to go hand in hand that way. They're just so cute. So romance. Yeah, what else do you want to know about romance? Like, when they meet, I just think so general advice, if you're doing an opening meeting, like, that's how most romances should start. You either have to introduce the person they are about to. I got it. Okay. We did it. Yay. Why did so much of this happen when I was trying to do my summary of romance? Oh, because we achieved objective. We achieved everything. Wow. We built some stuff. We got a hero to level up. How do you keep a romance story engaging? Yeah, that's hard. Peace. Thanks for the peace. Yeah, keeping a romance story engaging. So it depends on the type of romance story that it is. It depends on how you're approaching that romance. Generally speaking, what engages people is the pre-romance. Creepy. I mean, if you're describing them as creepy/wrong romances, they're creepy and they're wrong. I would recommend, if anyone wants to, would strongly recommend, in terms of exploring like negative romance and how it manifests itself, a YouTube channel called Pop Culture Detective. They speak to these topics way better than I could. They're very well researched and they deserve more views, I guess. But they do great stuff on like toxic relationships, stalking for love, all those kind of terrible romantic tropes that show up, abusive relationships masquerading as healthy ones. So I would recommend just like looking into their stuff. In terms of keeping a romance story engaging. So all romance stories are going to involve some degree of melodrama. It's really, really hard to not have it in there to some level, unless it's just a slice of life, in which case it's just cute scenes. And I'm totally fine with slice of life. Like, cute scenes are fine. We can all live with cute scenes. They're great. Generally speaking, the plot has to move forward, or the character has to be developed, which is the other thing that was thrown out there. So you have to develop your characters. Romance, any story is about how people change, generally speaking. That's my fundamental belief on content. So it is going to be someone changing by the end of the story, or a story can be about someone refusing to change even though they very obviously should have changed, right? So those are usually the ones with like a grizzled old detective who doesn't change by the end, but it's very obvious to the reader that they should have changed. So stories are generally about change. And so your content for a romance perspective still has to keep that in mind. The change is not from being single to being not single anymore. The change is on a personal level. It's not count as change to be like, well, the character started as single and now they're with someone. And it also can't be unhappy to happy. Right? So you can't be like, my character started out as unhappy and now they're happy. Nobody works that way. as people. What do we... Watch this space. A proposal will be on the way soon. All right, cool. We're building an alliance right now with some people on the other side of the galaxy somewhere. Where are they? Oh, they're in the middle of the... Wait. What is going on? We can also see the... Well, this explains our foodiness. We're in the Gemini constellation, which is plus... You control 6. You now own this constellation. It's plus food. There we go. This explains everything. It was destiny, right? You know? This is the setup. We were always going to be a pro-food people. I don't even know what this is. Commandress. That just sounds cool. And Octans down here. And then I guess there's more. I don't know. This is a real cool galaxy-looking thing. Where are these people? We are making a... Taurus. Okay, this is them. But where's their... Like... Where's their existence? Let's do this. Let's see if they do this. Tell me about the world, my friends. What do you got for me? There we go. They told us about the worlds. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. Again, the art for this game is just who was commissioned. This is phenomenal. So good. What did they show us by revealing the... Oh, they revealed basically nothing. Okay, so these people all the way over here who are living a pretty rich life. They have like no... Oh, I know what's going to happen. These people who have been yelling at me this whole time. These people. Stupid people. They're gonna end up in a war with... They're making an alliance because they're like, look, we both hate this guy. He's yelling at both of us probably. Okay, cool. I got to worry about this dude down here. He might suddenly... Crazy Elon Musk billionaire. Jeff Bezos here is going to come for me, so just got to keep him in mind. And then I don't know about these people. They're just here. They just... Actually don't know where their homeworld is either. Oh, they set up the thing on Auriga. Okay, well, what can you do? Sorry, anyway, so in terms of change, your character can't go from, like, sad to happy on a broad scale. People are sad for reasons beyond just, like, being sad, and they're definitely not sad because they're single. That's generally... I mean, like, I know there are single people in here. Single people can be like, I'm not sad because I'm single. I'm sad for other reasons. If they want to talk about their sadness. Yeah, so your happiness in that case has to come from something beyond that. Anyone who has been in a relationship who thought that getting into a relationship would be the thing that made them no longer need a relationship can tell you, or will be the thing that makes them happy. They'll tell you, like, yeah, that didn't work out. They'll definitely just be like, yeah, I got into a relationship. I thought it would make me happy. It turns out I still wasn't. There was actually a study on this. I think it was like a German study of couples. Like they talked to long-term married couples, and they were just like, hey, why are you happy as a married couple? Are you happy? Are you not happy? Like, what makes you happy? What would you say? Et cetera, et cetera. And they basically would like report more happiness. But then when they asked them about like how happy they would rate themselves before they had gotten married or before they'd been in a relationship, they also on average rated themselves as just generally happy people. So that's one of those hot tips about relationships. Whenever anyone tells you, whenever you look at a happy relationship and you're like, you're so happy together. Why are you happy together? The answer is usually because they were happy individuals who are now happy together. So yeah, your character has to change in some sort of capacity. Usually, though, in a romance, the romantic partner will be someone who challenges or exposes that flaw that is making them that they need to change. So if someone is... This is usually why you have pairings of... There are so many typical cliche pairings that come out of this. So you have the pairing of, like, a... really bubbly, outgoing, kind of naive person with a really serious stoic person, because the two of them contrast. And so the stoic person needs to learn to like loosen up a little bit, be a little more outgoing and get out there more. And the bubbly person needs to like learn how to take life a little more seriously and come to better understand things. And that's why those kind of relationships exist all the time. You see that all the time in romance stories. That's really common. Or both the characters can have the same problem, and then through mirroring can help expose each other, basically. So you don't talk to your family, and neither do I, and that's why we think we'll work, but really what we're finding is we're both running away from our problems, and like having to look at each other constantly reminds us of ourselves. We're very mad about that because it's like every time I look at you, I really see me and just running away from my family, and that can also help them change. So the kind of relationship that you're going to set up in a romance usually involves some sort of change. You can have cases, though, and this is usually where the romance is more subplotty, where the person has to change and it's independent from the romance. Just happens anyways. That can happen. That's totally fine. I wouldn't say like it's negative. It's just trickier to pull off, but you have to understand all these concepts of like how they're going to change, why the change is necessary, all this kind of stuff. Okay, cool. Oh, right. We were supposed to level up our systems. Whoopsie. We'll work on it. We'll work on it. Where are we at leveling? Okay, system. Level 2 system. What do we want? What do we produce really well? We produce +2 of these per turn. +60 on system. +4 per pop on system. Oh, okay. So this is just a flat +60 dust. Do we develop this stuff? I mean, we don't really need food that much, but we have it. But we don't really need it, but we have it. Or we could be happy. We could cause a lot of happiness. I feel like happiness is probably the way to go. Like, generally we make drift buds. This is very clearly marijuana. Love it. Cool. Didn't know. I've never encountered this. In all my playthroughs of this game, I've literally never encountered this. Did not know that there was a weed option. Okay, so we can either be happy or rich. Wow, what a conundrum. Help me out. Happy, rich. What do we say? Yeah, happy question mark? That's a way of putting it. Happy? If we're going to compete with nearby Elon Musk over there, or Bezos, like, we gotta... That's how we'll counter him. We'll just be real... We'll be real chill and happy looking. Okay, cool. We did it for the happiness. Do. That can happen. We're just building everything here. So many things here. Wow. So many layers. Didn't I say to get rid of this? Reduce meteor strikes? Less meteor strikes, people. Hang on now. This isn't good. Why is there a bunch of weapons in my... Uh-oh. This is what I'm talking about. You see? I told you we had to prepare for war. Oh, no. They're a monster. And we have no research queue. Didn't we have to research the thing that allows us to... Yeah, it's this one, right? Influence. Yeah, cultural flexibility. We're going to need a behemoth. We're going to want to negotiate better. I would like a giant anti-planet laser shield. I'm down for that. I don't want to die. N-dimensional industry. That just sounds cool. What's the Emperor's Shadow? Neat. Ooh. I mean, these are all cool sounding, so we'll just ride them out. We're 100% building a thing that shields us from people, please. Can't be to kill. What does this lead to? Bunkers. Yeah, we gotta get on this. Oh my god, why would you ask me about harem romances? Yeah, I have many issues with harem romances. But like many different issues with harem romances. So I read them because they're basically the only romance that is ever available to me in like Shonen Jump. So that sucks. I try really hard to like, I'm always seeking a really good romance story, and they always start with like, okay, here's me and this one cute girl, because they're always it's Shonen Jumps, they're always a male perspective. And so they're just like, okay, here's me and this really cute girl I've always had a crush on, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, this is great. I'm about this. I don't care that this is full of cliche. This is fine. And then, 3 chapters later, they're just like, oh, and here's my old childhood friend has arrived, and now they both like me. And then I'm immediately just depressed. It's kind of how I'm always momentarily hopeful to just be like, maybe this will just be a regular romance. What if it isn't a harem romance? And it never is. That's why I like Town Where You Once Lived and Fuka, because those are actual romances. Although Town Where You Once Lived kind of has a harem-y component to it, but it's only because he likes... okay, just to help with the Town Where You Once Lived. A Town Where You Once Lived I really enjoy as a romance because it explores what it means to be in a romance beyond the initial, do they like each other now they're together? They get together, and it keeps going several times with different women. It also explores what it's like to like someone but not be with them, because that is also something that happens, and to just miss your timing in a way that isn't sitcoms do this, but in really poor ways, where they basically still show the two characters clearly like each other. They'll have them cheat on their current partners to be with each other. They're very weak, but this one is more like a genuinely, you can like someone and want to be in a relationship with them and have no issues with them, but then also like someone else, instead of making it about oh, they're actually a lousy person. So I really do like it. It's harem-y in the sense that yeah, he does date several different women, but at several different times. It's not a case where he's just cluelessly loved by multiple women, and it's not as bad, but it is kind of itchy, so I'm not a huge fan of it. I have to rename the Delphinus system, and I'll get 50 Hyperion, or I can rescue these people. You're gonna all want me to rescue them, I imagine. What's your take on reverse harem romance tropes? Are they not basically more or less that they're still just because you flip the gender doesn't mean... I assume that's what you mean by reverse harem. That's usually what reverse harem is a flip gender. Or do you mean a person liking multiple people at once, as opposed to multiple people at once liking them? But I assume it's just gender flip, because that's usually what people mean when they say reverse harem. So I have all the same issues generally apply, because they're usually the same issues. I feel like we're religious, right? We would just be religious and be like, what can you do? Fine, we'll search the curiosity on Lesseth, because I know everyone would want me to. If our fleet gets destroyed, this will really suck. Unknown consequences. Hey, the consequence was more science. That's cool. Go team. And we got another ship out of the deal, so that's cool too. Still gonna send everyone here because we gotta fight those pirates off. Yeah, so I have issues with a lot of harem content. I end up reading it because it's the closest thing I can get to a romance most of the time, and I'm generally disappointed. I part of the reason why I sigh at being asked is because I just came out of reading. This is where the Academy is, right? I kind of want to take this over just because the Academy planet is so cool and everyone deserves to see it. Yeah, I just came out of reading We Never Learn, which is a harem, and then Nisekoi, which turns out to be a harem, and they're just terrible, because generally with harems, they are trying to appeal to everyone. They don't do all the things that I just talked about that will make your romance interesting so that you can keep it going, are just thrown out the window. What a harem instead does is it tries to have multiple stories at once with the same characters, so they're all moving incredibly slowly. They'd all be very short stories, but since you divide it across 3, 4, 5, 6 characters, it seems like a lot is happening, but nothing is actually happening. Yeah, they really frustrate me in that regard. And they're also just full of... They are incredibly popular, though. Yeah, they're unbelievably popular. This is part of why they always show up in... what is it? In, Shonen Jump. I get really frustrated because I look at them. The reason that I read We Never Learn is because it was described as a romance story that was quite popular. It had 150 chapters, I think, at the time that I was looking at it. And so I'm thinking to myself, cool, it's a romance. It has 150 chapters, so it obviously has to be pretty good, right? How else would a story run for that long? I feel similar about Nisekoi when I was looking at it, because I was like, again, or nisekoi, something like that. However, you would probably, I got to work on Japanese pronunciation. And I was just like, how can nisekoi have 230 chapters? Like, it has to be pretty good. And it turns out in both cases, it is not. They are fully powered by throwaways, cliches. Yeah, if you can think it, like, that's what they run on. And if you're into that, it works for you. And I do have to remember that, like, one of the primary audiences who read that content are, like, what is going on? Why am I... Oh, these are the... We're having a battle. I should have done watch. We destroyed those pirates. Yay! I should have watched it for everyone. Sorry, wasn't paying enough attention. Yeah, I just kind of I look at it as like, what is this behemoth? Why is it just here? And it's only got 107. Wait, it has no attacking power. How could I lose? How can I lose? What'll happen? Oh, I should have watched again. I'm sorry again. And it's gone. Whoops. I did it again. All right, my good buddies here have to go back and defend the homeworld. Generate 367 science. Okay, why not? Sorry, wouldn't it get boring after a while? Yeah, it gets so boring. It's so boring. I hate it. So this is what I'm talking about, where romances stall out, because in a harem, the thing that makes a harem appealing is that any character is a viable character, right? So that's one part of what makes harems interesting to people. Any of the love interests are 100% viable. It's kind of like the whole Jacob versus Edward thing from way back when with Twilight, where people could argue about that, but like Edward was really the only viable candidate because he was already the one in the romance with her, basically. So like Edward was really the only viable candidate. But with a harem, like the main character's committed to none of them, and technically they're all interested in the main character, so they can just freely like any one of these people. The other reason generally in manga in particular why they ever like them, this is part of what frustrates me, is that the main character tends to just be a good person, and that's apparently all it takes to win the hearts of women. That's also just like a terrible... I would do a whole thing on how romance is not built out of just being a good person. That's not how romance works in real life. It's really stupid stuff where they're like, oh, you were sick for a day at school, so I brought home your homework for you. Like, yeah, I had to do that. The teacher would just ask, and I'd be like, okay, sure, yeah, I mean, yeah, they're my neighbor. I'll bring them my homework, no problem. Like, I'm not doing it because I'm a chivalrous knight. That's just a nice person thing to do. It's the equivalent of like holding a door for someone and thinking that means they have a crush on you. Like, they're just holding a door. Like, people hold doors for each other because we're nice people. We're allowed to just help each other and be nice people. We always chose happiness, if I remember correctly. So that is another issue with the harems. And then, yeah, they just keep on cycling through the same old things because they aren't able to move any closer to actually committing to any of those people. They have to constantly flounder. Man, look at that. I don't even know what's going to happen in this political survey. We'll go until the next election. We'll do it just like last time, and then we'll call the stream. Go until the next election. Yeah, so a lot of harems have that. This is how romances flounder. Okay, we're going to watch this one. Oh, no, wait. We're going to retreat. Never mind. Sorry. Where is this? At Virak? I'm going to send a ship to Virak. All for you, people. Where is Virak? We're going to watch a battle. So you can watch a space battle unfold. Oh, it's all the way down here. I don't want to do that. That's so far. Okay. Turn around. Everybody else is meeting here. No, don't go this way. Go this... This is my fault. Go this way. And then this way. And then this way. Nope. Okay, fine. Just go this way. Oy, useless. I can't do this. So, yeah, being a gentleman and a flirt, completely different things. Very true. That's not how you engage. There's so much romance that's built out of that now because, again, so much of how people have learned romance is through popular media. And popular media teaches you, in order to have romance, you need basically two attractive characters to be in the same room together. That's about it. for at least one of those characters should just be a decent level of a human being to the other character. Like, we're just talking baseline humanity. Holding a door, you know, saving them while they fall down the stairs. That's not, like, if someone's falling down the stairs and I'm right behind them, I will also try to catch them. A lot of stuff like that. So there's a lot of false heroism that gets set up that way and gets displayed as goodness. And yes, then a lot of harems really do suffer because a lot of these harems run on, we can't get these two characters together. So in order to avoid that, they'll just do things and then not acknowledge the growth. It's like a sitcom, right? It just runs like a sitcom. Like, whatever happened last episode doesn't matter. Reset it at the end of the episode. Just cause a reset at the end of the episode. This is why so many of these harem romances have these scenes that occur, and then as a result of the scene, yeah, I'm gonna retreat. I'm out of here. I don't want to fight this person. As a result of that scene, the end point of it is, uh-oh, the pirates are following me. That can't be good. Oh no, I'm gonna die. The end point of the scene is, like, the character will punch the main character, like, get out of here, you're such a whatever, or they'll just be like, I don't know, it wasn't the worst. But it doesn't really cause any progress. So romance always has to be causing progress on some degree. Your characters have to be moving forward. Something has to be happening, or else, yeah, you're going to get really, really, really bored really fast with these characters. As per my usual, like, rules on this kind of stuff that I describe is, any scene has to be advancing the plot, so it either has to be developing their romantic relationship with each other, or giving you character depth and insight, so showing you more about the individual characters themselves. Those are really what every scene needs to do. So that's how you keep a romance interesting throughout, is either showcasing how the characters are changing and growing, or struggling with it, because character change is extremely difficult. All of us, I'm sure, have gone through it in our own lives, so it's weird how much we oversimplify it in content. I don't know what this means. You said that you would tell me something, and then you didn't.
Horatio doubts your motives and your ethics.
I'm not thieving. Hang on, wait a minute. What am I doing? Oh. So yeah, that's fine. So, okay, hang on. As we pause here to talk about the actual game state. So remember what I said is our way of expanding is we are going to have influence, which is these red circles. This is just like our sphere of influence. We're going to be so cool. This is what we decided on. We're going to be such a cool empire that people who are caught in our sphere of influence are going to be like, those guys are real cool. I want to join them. That was specifically this research that we wanted. Cultural flexibility. So we can just, like, absorb them. These guys are now saying, like, excuse me, can you not convince our people that you're too cool for us? And we can either say, nope, we're cool, deal with it. We did say we're religious, so I may have to go with the religious side of this. Or we can say, we won't do it. But we could just be like, no, deal with it. But then they'll declare war. They were like literally sitting in our system with a huge army. So that's not great. I can't buy ships, so that's also not great. Here's the marketplace, by the way. This is like a real stock market. If I sell a lot of stuff, it will affect the price. Oh man, we're gonna die for sure. Whatever, I refuse. How do I convert a system now?
Horatio doubts your motives.
That's cool. That's fine. How do I take it? I've never done this before. I don't know how to. Cannot afford. Oh, okay. Progress. Plus 19% a turn. Oh, in 5 turns, we're going to have it. What a day.
The Empire welcomes all.
Cool, we found the Empire. Yeah, character change is a real struggle. So don't simplify it down into... the sum of the maximum command points will exceed the thingamajig. That's cool. Well, whatever. They can all fly together. Just not be a unit together. We're heading to Vieric 15 turns from now. That's when they'll fight. Fight in the war. What did we explore? Basic positron torpedoes. That's cool. Finds. More reserves. Things. Yeah, so I don't think you're wrong, Daisy, at all. We do simplify them. I would just caution, like, extreme oversimplifications. So I'm talking, like, 1 chapter to come around on being good. Like those kind of things are quite bad. It takes a little longer than that. And the other thing that's really interesting, though, to your point that reading a character that doesn't change is boring. That's true, except for the that like grizzled veteran thing. It's a weird, unique loophole, but yeah, reading a character that doesn't change is boring. And that's why the thing that I would say is like, usually the people interpret that as, okay, characters have to change. If a character doesn't change, it's boring. And I can't write out like extremely lengthy reasons as to why they're changing because it's, you know, it follows all those old rules about not being boring. You don't write like, and then they brush their teeth specifically this way. Like, it's really boring. And you cut out pieces of the conversation. So what a lot of people do is they'll just be like, okay, since I have to do all those things, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just instantly change the character because that's interesting. That leads to a problem where, oh, here we go. Time for the election. We're the ecologists. Let's see what happens. Here we pause. We are kind of more religious now, though. And pacifistic. Wow. The pacifists actually end up winning. Just barely in terms of representation. So these are both the people who are... Because they won, we get their primary law. That kind of sucks. I like the other law. Not going to lie. What's our mandatory law that we now have? Right thing wrong. Okay, yes, no, I get it. Okay, what's our law now? Allows you to force peace when at Cold War with an empire. That's not bad. That's not bad. +2 per anomaly or more happiness per peace. I choose more happiness per peace. So the more peaceful we are, the happier we become. We're happy people with peace. Yeah, so people see all this stuff about change and they think, okay, I need to show that a character is changing. And by doing that, you then end up in a space where either the character has to keep changing all the time in order to keep being interesting, which doesn't work. Or the really common one, the sitcom approach, is you keep resetting the character to basically ignore that they just changed and just keep running them through the same scenarios. Also doesn't work. People get really frustrated with that really quickly because it's really obvious what you're doing. And it's not great. So that's reasons to not do that. So what I would say is, like, you do need to make them change. Change does take time. You can't have a case where you make it take so long that oh right, we had to terraform this, and we did it. I totally forgot about this objective, but we did it. We did it for the sowers. Look at them, they're so happy. They're like, look at this plant grow, my friend. So happy for us. And now add 2 non-sower populations to the system's Zanes. Okay, why not? I can do that. I did fail that objective, that's true. Level up here to level 14. We're almost there.
I assume this is...
Leave me alone, person. Okay. Zanes needs 2 extra people, but we don't have Starport. How will I... Everyone here is not... There are no... What will I do? Oh, no. Okay. Sorry, so people see this have all these things with change. They know that change takes time, and you can't just write a whole book about someone struggling in the same way that we might. Like, it takes actual humans, literal years, entire lifetimes to change on fundamental pieces of ourselves. So obviously you can't show that in a book. What I would say, though, is you're going to have to be a little faster. Don't be so fast as to just, boom, people change just like that. Don't have them change on extremely flimsy reasons either. People will pick up on that. People can recognize them instantly, and they hate them. Just right away. If change isn't earned or isn't deserved, they won't appreciate it. Your readers will never appreciate that kind of change because you'll just react with, like, you wouldn't change just because your friend said, like, you know what, man, you are pretty cool. You wouldn't suddenly be, like, less of a jerk. That seems like a weird overnight change. What is the name of the game? The name of the game is Endless Space 2. There's also Endless Space, if you want to play that one. These same developers are in the middle of making a game called Humankind, and I cannot wait for it to come out because it's very, very pretty and full of choices, so there's that too. But sure, I guess we can have people who are watching just for the sake of the game. We have to figure out what our... We did our election. I said we would call it, but I also promised people the show, and the show was this fight happening, which is going to happen in...
Your offensiveness drives Horatio to anger and distraction.
Love your insults, my friend. It's going to take some more turns. 11 turns. Pff, we don't have time for that. Okay, to wrap it up. We can buy out these people now. 57%. We can just turn this into our colony. We just have to be like, you're ours now. Or we can just keep waiting because they're losing out on it over time. Yeah, that's their problem. They can just lose out on it over time. Another pirate trap. We keep running into pirate traps. I'm out of here. Where are my ships? Ships. Fight these pirates. Basically the same thing. 10 turns. Basically the same thing. Go fight those pirates. So one of the techniques that I would say to use for addressing change in your characters is that since change takes time, there are a lot of stages to change. Like, as someone moves from being shy to more outgoing, it's not the sort of thing where it's just like, hey, I went to a party or I met someone and they told me, like, you should be a little more outgoing. And then I was. That's not really what happens. But in order to get you those changes, change is incremental. So someone can just be a little less shy next time, start to come out. And then as they start to come out, that in turn can cause a lot of new problems they've never encountered. And those will want to push them back into no longer being outgoing, right? So, for example, you're a shy person. You're trying to be more outgoing. So your new crush, because this is a romance story, your crush is telling you, like, you should be more outgoing. We're going to go to this party tonight. And you would normally never say yes, but you're like, okay, you know what? I'm going to go this time to be a little more outgoing and blah, blah, blah. And while you're there, you see that some people are dancing and you're like, okay, I should dance. And so you try to dance and you're really kind of not great at it. And you bump into someone and knock them over and they really struggle with, they get hurt or whatever. They're like, you're a real goof. And you become extremely self-conscious, really worried about what just happened. And you kind of are just like, I don't want to, oh my goodness, I never want that to happen again. I don't want to talk to anyone. Like, is there a way that I can just pretend this never happened? I'm not going to do that anymore. And that's a whole new problem that you wouldn't have faced had you just stayed quietly a quiet person that whole time, right? So that's a different form of change. Or you start talking more to people, and as you open up to someone, like, they open up back to you and they start telling you about stuff that causes you to maybe start to think a little more about stuff differently, start to think about yourself a little differently. Something that can happen to shy people when they first start opening up, for example, is as they first start opening up, they might open up to the first person they open up to. Darn, we can't get these people. They're ecologists, though. We want them so badly. We just need to generate 367 science. I don't even know how much science any particular place is generating. 317. We're very close here. Here's what we'll do. We'll do this. And also, this will get built. So that'll be good. Probably when this gets built, actually, it'll be done. That's what I'm thinking. Let's do this. Let's do that. There we go. Yeah, so often when you open up to someone as a shy person, that can trigger you opening up to the wrong type of person. So someone who starts taking you down really interesting paths, and you, lacking in stronger social signals, don't recognize that what they're doing to you is not normal. That's how shy people can end up in really weird or toxic or abusive relationships, because they don't know that what they're going through is not normal, or that this isn't what friends do. Or they might be like, okay, well, I'm trying to be more outgoing, and you're saying to me I should be more outgoing, so I should just, like, try to go this way and do this thing. And that's how you end up in really dangerous situations. And that is interesting. Oh, look at that. We achieved that objective I just talked about. Set up an outpost on the Rookbach system, if you say so.
The Empire will not
Fine.
tolerate this.
You can also have money. Stop. Everyone leave me alone.
Drink.
Hey, we assimilated them. Right after I talked about it. It's all going so fast. So yeah, that's kind of a way that I would talk about change too, is like, look to change to be incremental, right? It's the little pieces in between that can be more interesting as someone moves from shy to kind of shy to more outgoing to totally outgoing. Most people want to, like, skip it. No, I'm not saying it makes them more open to abuse. I'm just saying That's a way in which someone who is shy can get caught up in abuse situations. They don't recognize, because they're like, I didn't experience this stuff. That's a thing that can happen. That's a thing that's happened to several people I'm aware of. Yeah, I'm not saying shy people are more susceptible. I'm saying that's a pathway to susceptibility, is they can just be like, okay, I didn't experience this, especially when they're younger, like a teenager. And they're trying to be more outgoing, and then they encounter, coincidentally, a friend who is, or not much of a friend, who leads them down an improper path, and they don't know. Like, friends would never ask you to do that, my friend. They're not a real friend if you don't know that, because you haven't opened up to other people. That can happen. But correct, being shy doesn't necessarily mean you're more open to abuse. It just depends on your exposure and what's going on there. But anyways, we covered a lot of stuff. We did an election. I said that we would stop at the election, but we were still trying to wrap up the point on change. And the thing that's interesting for me is, yeah, it's lack of experience in these situations, not being shy. Correct. Which is often, I'm saying, like, as a function of being shy, they don't have experience in that situation. Like, if they were too shy to be involved, and then, whoops. No, that's correct. It's not necessarily being reckless. I'm just talking about a specific scenario that can play out. I'm not saying this stuff to say, like, this will always happen to all people, this is always how that works. I'm saying that's a particular plot line that can play out. Like, someone who is shy may not have experienced a bunch of situations, which in turn can cause negative ramifications. That's a potential plot line that you can follow. If you want to follow someone changing, and it's more interesting than just flipping a switch from being, like, shy to more outgoing. Flipping a switch is usually what happens in, like, middle grade content, where someone is just, like, was a bully, but then we all learn a valuable lesson at the end to not be a bully anymore. And that's usually not how it goes in most cases. So I say this as a shy person who's myself been led down many interesting paths, and also watched a lot of people be led down fascinating paths. But there are also, yeah, lots of shy people who are very aware of, who are just like, cool, that's fine. Or other pathways that they take because they're shy in order to be more outgoing. But yes, you don't have to take it as I'm saying that's how all shy people behave, or that's the result. I'm saying that's a possible plot line. It's also a possible plot line for someone who isn't shy, who just hasn't had that type of experience. It's just kind of weird. It just may not be, like, as tied to their character. If they're already super outgoing, like, you can basically have both plot lines happen to someone who's extremely outgoing, who ends up in the wrong, hanging out with the wrong crowd, and you can also have that of someone who's extremely shy. How exactly they end up in those spaces might be a little bit different. How they play out might be a little bit different, but they can both follow that kind of plot line. That was just an example I'm throwing out there, though. I'm aware, yeah, I imagine most people, if most people in here are writers, most people in here are probably shy, and therefore are just like, I don't have these issues. I'm like, that's true. I don't doubt that at all. So I would imagine most people in here are relatively shy. I know that I am quite shy at parties. I know that it has impacts, and I know that I try and, like, change it, and it has impacts. So I think about, and that is one of those other fun things, right? The, like, write what you know. That's excellent that we have someone who's not shy. It's excellent to think, like, write what you know in that case too, which is write about, like, those moments of struggle that you've had, write about those journeys that you've had, whether you've been shy or not shy. If you're just like, okay, what's it like to be that person? What was it like along the way? What are some lessons? What are some, like, weird and painful lessons that I've learned? I, for example, have learned some weird and painful lessons wherein, due to my, like, social awkwardness in a situation, I have been that person. Everyone knows this person, I think. That person where there's, like, a group of 5 people and we're all talking, and then there's the 6th person, and then when they finally do contribute, it kind of, like, makes everyone be, like, silent. Or just be like, you went, no. Where everyone's, like, making jokes about each other. Oh, man, you're so funny this way. You're so funny this way. And then that person's like, yeah, you're all funny this way. And it just ruins it. Like, I've been that person, and I've had to learn, oh, okay, can't, these people all knew each other before I got here, so they all feel comfortable making jokes with each other. Apparently we can't all just make jokes at each other. Things like that I've had to learn, that I've taken and adopted into my writing. To just be like, what was that experience like? What did that cause in me? How did I recognize that was true? What caused me to recognize it? What was the reactions of other people? All that kind of stuff applies to to writing, I would say, to bring it in when you're talking about change. And similar things in romance. I've been on so many dates and am able to speak to a lot of them and are just like, oh boy, this sucks. It does happen to everyone. It happens to everyone depending on the situation you're in. Or it may not. I mean, there might be someone who comes in and is like, I've never experienced that. I've always been cool. But as shown by like hobby shops, for example, someone who's like traditionally a nerd outsider can then bring their non-nerd outsider friend to a hobby shop, and then that person will definitely be the outsider and won't know what anyone's talking about. So this is also what I talk about when I talk about like universal experiences everyone goes through, that lots of people can relate to this stuff. You want to capture in on that feeling of like social exclusion or goofing up socially in front of people. Everyone can relate to that no matter what your, like, name a genre, name a plot line, name a world. Everyone knows what it's like to be just like socially awkward in a public setting. Everybody knows because everyone's experienced it. So that's that other thing to tap into. Okay, that should really cover so much at this point. I think so. We'll call it there. Thanks to the chat too for helping out and making us a more religious, fanatic, ecological group. I guess that's who we are now. And for talking about romance and change and debating whether or not romance is in everything. I don't know if I fully believe that theory, but I like understand its validity. I get it. Anyway, see everybody. And since it's the holiday times now, have happy holidays if you get to have vacation or time off now. So enjoy it.